Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Pipe Wrench, and by Junk Be Gone, and by the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source in the Junk Be Gone studios. Happy to have you with us. Appreciate you making this show possible by watching every week, year-round, and by visiting our sponsors year-round. Much appreciated. We have a lot to cover today. We've got Rick Barnes and Jonas Aidoo. We've got the possible #1 pick in the NFL draft next year right on UT's campus. We've got people talking about Memphis getting on the schedule for Tennessee. Should it be? SEC expansion to talk about, a little bit about the spring sports, baseball and softball. A lot to cover today. Let's get right into it. Our first segment brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. And when you need an attorney, you got to go with the best. When you need an attorney, you got to go with a group that's local, right here in East Tennessee, with offices in Knoxville and the surrounding area. And when you need an attorney, you need to go with the Garza Law Firm, because they're both of those. The best, and right here in East Tennessee. More than 2 decades of proven results right here. Marcos Garza and his team, big part of this community, and you can just check around. I'm sure you'll find somebody you know who's been represented by Marcos Garza and his team at some point or another, and I bet you have a real good story that you're going to hear from them, because these guys do tremendous, tremendous work. These guys and gals, I suppose. Not guys applied to everyone, but if I don't say guys and gals, I will get an email. GarzaLaw.com to learn more. All right, let's welcome in the rest of our panel today, or the entire panel today. Jimmy Himes right here, Ryan Callahan right there, Josh Ward, Bob Hodge. Or I guess the rest of the panel, because I'm part of the panel. There you go. I want to start by talking about, well, basically, this is kind of funny. We're going to talk a little bit about the state of college sports a little bit later, and is the NCAA finally going to make some changes that might fix things? But in the current landscape of college sports, it's early May, so of course Rick Barnes is still building his basketball team. That is a change. It wasn't used to that years ago. Let's take a look at some of the movements that have taken place just recently. We've talked about it for several weeks. Finally came to fruition this past week. Igor Milicic transferred into Tennessee from Charlotte. That's the third transfer in for the program, joining Felix Akpara from Ohio State and Darlinston Dubar from Hofstra. Man, it's going to be the all-name team. Milicic, Akpara, and Dubar. And then outgoing, you finally got some results there too. Tobe Awaka, he transfers to Arizona, makes that official. And Jonas Aidoo, last Sunday I said, well, it's looking more like North Carolina or Alabama rather than Arkansas. So, of course, he then goes to Arkansas. So things change from Saturday to Sunday. But Jonas Aidoo transfers to Arkansas, where he'll play for John Calipari. In terms of what Rick Barnes said about Jonas Aidoo, let's show you what that was. Honestly, I don't want to sound crass about it, but you move on. When you lose somebody, your mindset has to be, well, maybe we can improve somewhere. We obviously have great love and respect for Jonas. We've watched him grow in our program. But again, he felt like he may want to play a different style, a different way. But it hurts. It always does when you feel like you've really worked hard with a young person and you get them to a point, but you also understand it. Believe me, we understand it. I've said this before, I'm amazed that Rick Barnes is learning a new trick in terms of just turning over a new leaf with this transfer thing. He's adjusted better than just about anybody in the country for coaches who've been around for a long time. And even when you can tell he's upset, a comment like that, he didn't like being surprised by the departure, even then he handles it with class, which there are a lot of coaches who would have blown the kid up for that. So kudos to Rick Barnes. But my question is this: how does Jonas Aidoo get treated if Arkansas and John Calipari arrive in Knoxville this year? How does he get treated? I think I know the answer to that. That's the easy part. He'll get his brains booed out, correct?
Not well.
Yeah, not well. He'll be booed.
Yeah.
All right, here's the real question. If he just left for money, if it was just NIL, okay, even though everybody does it, and nobody boos the guys that transfer here just for NIL, okay, I would understand that. But we talked about it a couple weeks ago on the show. This is a guy who thinks he can get to the NBA playing a different style of basketball. Rick Barnes just laid it out there. So should people boo him? If this is someone who literally is making a business decision, this isn't just cash. This is, in this system, I'm not going to be as prepared for the NBA as I will be in that system. I've got to go make this move. So should they boo him? We know they will, and I don't care about the school. I'm just saying, should wherever he's transferring from, boo him if he's transferring with a reason? Jimmy?
No, they shouldn't boo him. They will, but they shouldn't. I'll be curious to see who they boo louder. Either it'll be Calipari or Aidoo. I don't know which one to get the most jeers, but I don't think they should. I'm not a big fan of booing athletes anyway. Yeah. But on top of that, you have benefited tremendously at Tennessee from transfers, football and basketball and baseball and softball if you want to keep going down the list. So why would you take out aspersions against somebody that wants to go somewhere else and try to better himself, try to get ready for the NBA? And by the way, I'm told he's making $1.2 million in NIL money, which isn't bad.
Hurt, yeah.
But no, I don't think he should be booed, and I don't blame him for making what he considers a business decision to prepare him for the next level. So it'll happen, but I don't think it should.
1.2 million. Josh, I was going to start with you. I didn't. I went to Jimmy. I'm sorry. I was looking in that direction. So I'll start with you for the rest of the segment. Your thoughts on this? What should have happened?
I'm going to need more NIL for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
If I'm going to have to follow Jimmy.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. I expect that he'll be booed when he's introduced. I think that he should be cheered at the beginning because he helped Tennessee win. Move aside why he's leaving. He helped Tennessee win a championship. They got to the Elite Eight, and I think he helped there. I know he didn't have a great NCAA tournament, but they were positioned to go there because of how he did. He was an All-SEC player. Once the game gets going, I think that's a different conversation because fans can have an impact on the game. And if you want to give him the business at that point, I think that can make some sense. But yeah, but going in, I think he should be cheered, and it goes both ways. You're bringing players in, you're seeing players go out, and I think Rick Barnes truly means it when he says he understands that. Yeah. He has recognized that's the new college basketball world.
Boo him. I mean, that is what fandom is. And fandom is not about understanding the other. Say that Josh Heupel decides to start running the wishbone. And Nico goes, I'm not going to get to the NFL running the wishbone, and he transferred. Everybody would go, oh, I know how come he's transferring. Then when he came back with Alabama, he would be booed. I mean, I see what you all are saying, that yes, there's a logical reason he did it. He did it to help himself and further his basketball career. But as a fan, you abandoned me, I'm going to boo you. I mean, it's just,
Even if for Nico, if they ran to the wishbone, it would be his fault for leaving.
No, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be his fault. But as a fan, you've gone to the other side. And there's one good side.
Yeah. And all the others are
evil. The others are the dark side. So that's just the way it is.
Voice of the fan. What do you think?
I mean, to the point that we should critique fan behavior at all.
Well,
no,
that's not really
right.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, yeah. But I don't think I don't think that deserves to be booed because again, he does have a legitimate reason for leaving, at least in his mind. And again, who are we to question that? It's his decision, his future, and that's what he's ultimately got to decide what he wants to do and what gives him the best opportunity. But yeah, I don't think that's the worst reason for a player to leave. But I don't think that's necessarily, to Bob's point, the reason fans boo or not. I mean, Henry To'oTo'o may have had legitimate reasons for leaving for Alabama, but nobody cared at the end of the day. He was going to Alabama. So
I think if you sit there and look at his reasoning, I think it's probably very, very sound. Yeah. If his goal is the NBA, the style he was playing. But I just don't think as a fan that enters into your way of thinking.
Yeah, and the problem is this becomes a critique of fans, which is not the idea. I guess better question would be, do you have a bigger problem with it? To me, if he'd said, hey, somebody's asking me money, it's business, buddy. Money, gone. And yes, money played a role, obviously. But that's not what the response was. We've heard players basically say that. It's business, sorry. Gerald Mincy. But this is someone who's saying, look, this isn't going to get me to the NBA. I have to move style. So to me, that gives it a little bit more credibility in the reason for moving. I still hate all this stuff. I still like it. Oh, you signed with a school? Well, you're there 4 years. But that is obviously old man. That's old-timer thinking. I hit Chuck with that the other day. He's not here. That's me with old-timer thinking.
I used to argue about, kids should be allowed to transfer. Coaches can leave under contract. Yeah. But when I said that, I never thought we would be where we are now.
Everybody can transfer every year.
Everybody can transfer. I mean, who knows? Jonas Aidoo may not be playing for Arkansas this time.
1.2 million.
Go ahead. I was going to say, and to your point earlier, I actually think most fans would probably view it worse if he was leaving just for NIL. I think some fans see that as a cheaper move. Like, well, why couldn't Tennessee have done that? I mean, we're Tennessee. We've got resources too. They would just say, you shouldn't leave for that. If you're leaving to prove yourself as an NBA player, I think they see that as a more legitimate reason in some ways.
I don't think people booed DJ Burns and he transferred to NC State. I think a lot of it is where did you go?
Yes, I think that's right. And the fact that if it were just Arkansas, that would be one thing. But now it's Arkansas and Calipari, too.
The Cal factor adds to it. I do think the system is going to be viewed in different ways. Like, oh, our system's not good enough for you. I think, like when Brandon Huntley-Hatfield left, part of that was, oh, he wants to expand his game offensively, he wants to be more of an outside shooter. Oh, you don't trust Rick Barnes coaching? So I think some will look at that part of it as an insult to Tennessee. Our system, what Rick Barnes does to develop players, isn't good enough for you. I think they'll view that as an insult and a knock on the program. Which
is funny, because how did they view Victor Bailey coming from Oregon? Because I know people are like, well, if you say Dalton Connect or Gainey, they're going to go, well, they were coming up in the world. That's what it's supposed to be. All right, what about Victor Bailey? What about Justin Powell coming from Auburn?
Yeah. Well, that was okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can already do the movie title for you. There will be booze.
There will be booze, and with an S. All right.
Tennessee developed him to the point where he has become a better player.
Where supposedly he's worth $1.2 million.
Yeah,
he wasn't worth $1.2 million 2 years ago.
That's exactly right.
$1.2 million seems that seems
insane.
It does.
That seems very, very large. No, I'm not casting.
It was a source.
Yeah. But 1.2, wow. Although here's the thing, part of that also is they had a massive need, because when Calipari worked in there, they had what, one walk on.
Yeah, when he was hired, they said we've put together a huge bag to divvy up.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny, and the numbers that you hear about basketball players transferring, all of them are hard for me to believe. Because, you're hearing everything, $500,000, $750,000, $1.2 million. All that is just, to me, incredible.
But one player in basketball, as we saw with Dalton Connect, can change a program. That's why it's a little different from football in a lot of cases.
Well, and you also see Arkansas is probably one of those programs like Kentucky that values basketball anywhere close to football and would be willing to do something like that. All right, when we come back, a lot of outlets believe UT will have the #1 pick in the NFL draft next year. But is James Pierce really to that level? We'll discuss that next, coming back on the Sports Source.